Utilities remain financially viable and protecting consumers from unjustified costs. But many Ghanaians feel that that balance has tilted. I am Kemeni Amano, and today I sit with the Executive Secretary of the PURC, Dr. Shafiq Suleiman, as we go beyond the rhetoric. This is Hot Issues.
Ghana, are you ready?
The best.
(2026) at 10 a.m. It's that time of the year when Media General transforms into Ghana's cultural hub, and this year we're taking it to another level. Our Ghana village is bigger and better, so much to experience, eat, drink, buy, do and learn every single day. And there's more. The Ghana Month Expedition offers 3 nights and 4 days of pure, unforgettable fun touring the best part of the Eastern, Ashanti and Central regions from the 19th to the 22nd of March. And on the 28th March, all roads lead to the Legon City Mall for your favorite food event, the 3FM Gobe Festival. But that's not all. All throughout March, our screens and dials celebrate everything that makes us proud. Our shows, music, movies, festivals, history, traditions, and more. Welcome to a truly incomparable and totally immersive Ghana Month 2026. Ghana Month launches on all Media General platforms on Monday, 2nd March 2026 at 10 a.m. It's that time of the year when Media General transforms into Ghana's cultural hub, and this year we're taking it to another level. Our Ghana village is bigger and better, so much to experience, eat, drink, buy, do and learn every single day. And there's more. The Ghana Month Expedition offers 3 nights and 4 days of pure, unforgettable fun touring the best part of the Eastern, Ashanti and Central regions from the 19th to the 22nd of March. And on the 28th March, all roads lead to the Legon City Mall for your favorite food event, the 3FM Gobe Festival. But that's not all. All throughout March, our screens and dials celebrate everything that...
Doc, you're welcome to Hot Issues.
Thank you.
When the Ghanaian public complained about their metering system being overcharging them of sort, the PURC jumped to action and convened a meeting. What came out of that meeting?
Okay, good afternoon, and good afternoon to all your viewers and listeners. I think the PURC, the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, is our mandate to actually protect the interests of the consumer. Mm-hmm. So when the issue of overbilling and power instability was quite rampant last week and last 2 weeks, we saw the complaints, and we were working already with ECG to try and resolve most of them. But then when the complaints heightened up, we took action quickly to summon ECG to explain to us beyond what we've been working with them on, to explain to us what the causes and the issues are. And they did just that. We had a meeting with them.
I see. So what did they tell you was the problem?
Yeah, so they explained that they are making some few internal structures, injection of new meters. They are also putting in some new transformers across the length and breadth of their operational areas. That's the southern sector of Ghana. And then they are also trying to change some wires here and there to keep the system stable and the power constantly available to the Ghanaian consumer. And some of the issues they explained are quite reasonable.
Are those the reasons they give for why people's electricity credits runs out quickly?
So the explanations are multifaceted, as I explained. They would be coming up with their final statement maybe Monday. I think they are also currently they are also in a retreat to try and get the final solutions to the Ghanaian consumer from last week's meeting. And I'm very confident that by Monday they would be coming out with their final explanation to the issues. But most of the issues they explained, they are fixing new meters to consumers, and those new meters, so anytime they are replacing a new meter, right, it means that the old meter has a problem. So one of the problems they identified with the old meters is that the old meters are unable to actually respond to new tariff adjustments, and like some are as old as from the last tariff adjustment, from even as old as 2022.
I see.
Has not been reflected in those meters. So those ones are those they are replacing, and obviously if they replace those meters, it takes into consideration all the accumulated tariff adjustments, and then it begins to read, and that's what the most new meters that have been replaced is indicating to the Ghanaian consumer beyond reason.
So then are we saying that the old meters were not reading accurately, and that it's because you have a new meter, your new meter is now reading your consumption accurately, which is why your credits will run out quickly? So
that's one of the reasons. One of the reasons.
And the other will be what? Particularly for those who are on old meters, they haven't switched to new meters but are facing that same problem. Yeah,
so those are also complaints that we are all gathering from the consumer and trying as much as possible. If you have a meter that is reading beyond what the tariff is supposed to have required, it means that's a problem. The PURC will take it up with ECG and ensure that if it's been ascertained and confirmed, you are refunded for any extra billing that you've been billed or you've been billed, so that you can get a refund for that.
Could it be that the meters have not been configured with the appropriate tariff adjustment?
So that could also be that could also be. So the other explanation was basically with regards to they call it a dark zone. Every meter is supposed to be responding to ECG systems, and what happens is that they have some meters that are not having. So every meter is also supposed to have a SIM card, more or less, a chip that is supposed to serve as the communication channel between ECG and the customer. And there are some meters that have been working with a direct contact with ECG systems for a while. And within that period of tariff adjustment, because those meters are not within the captured, or they are not within actively internet available areas, those meters have not been able to reflect the new ECG has not been able to calibrate those meters to be able to carry the new tariff. So what happens now is that once in a while, those areas are able to get internet access because of maybe the nature of internet and the telecoms that are offering those services. So once in a while, I mean, it takes a while when they are rebooting their systems, then those meters are the internet flashes up, and either it's able to reboot and be able to capture a much more updated tariff. That's one of the reasons, or one of the issues that they face. But as I said, we are still digging deep. I don't want to preempt or say what ECG is supposed to come and tell the consumer, but I'm just trying my best to also ensure that the consumer is given the needed information.
At that meeting, you had given the power retailer 48 hours to come out and speak to the Ghanaian people. That 48 hours has expired, hasn't it?
Yeah, so we go in touch with them again, and then within that, in fact, they go in touch within the 48 hours. They go in touch that they require more time to validate. As I said,
is that acceptable?
Yes, that's acceptable. If so, they are currently even in a retreat with management and with their board to be able to finalize the most the important issues and some of them, they are solving them as we are speaking now. But the assurance is that by Monday, all things being equal, if they are all back to work, they'll be able to give the final communique. It's just a communique to the Ghanaian consumer as to what is happening and how best they are putting in place structures to resolve them. As I can assure you, some of the solutions are already unfolding. They are already on the ground working. And PRC is also on the ground. We are working. And we are taking complaints. As I'm here, I'm taking complaints, and I'm also putting it across to ensure that it's the reading, Usain Bolt kind of meters that we don't want, the overreading. But if it is a reading that is within the acceptable limits, why not? Yeah.
When the PURC walked out of that meeting, were you convinced? Were you happy? Were you impressed with the responses ECG had given to your questions?
For sure. So, in fact, aside the meeting with ECG on Thursday, there was another meeting with the Ministry of Energy, who is that's Ministry of Energy and Green Transition. That's the key stakeholder in the activities of ECG. And I was invited as well to participate. And it was the same question was asked as to whether or not what exactly is ECG doing to resolve the challenges. Yeah, they gave the explanations, and then we had another conversation. I think that's where we agreed that more time should be allowed for ECG to ascertain and confirm most of what.
In the meantime, how are we protecting the consumer?
So as it stands now, ECG is working to ensure that the consumer is being protected.
Until then, we have to pay the Usain Bolt
not at all.
Meter bills.
Not at all. That's why I'm saying there's room for refunds.
Okay.
There are rooms for refunds, and I've indicated that we've done that. For last year alone, the PRC was able to assist consumers to refund over 81 million Ghana cedis. And these refunds are things that are very common within the utility sector. Maybe someone will say until it gets to you, you probably will not see that it's happening. If you have a refund complaint and we've been able to go through the process and we've ascertained that there's an overbilling issue, I mean, we are able to get through to the utility for them to refund you. In fact, there are instances where consumers' accessories or appliances are destroyed or because of high voltage. And the commission, in fact, even some homes are burned down because of high voltage. And the commission is able to take through the utility through the process of our law and ensure that the consumer is fully compensated.
I see.
Yeah.
To the best of your knowledge, how long has ECG experienced this problem of the Usain Bolt meters?
So I think the complaint started coming in from the 9th of February last month. It started with quality of service issues, like the lights were going off because we know that we are meeting current demand, both base load demand and peak load demand in the country, and we have enough generation capacity. We are taking care of the IPPs are getting enough funds to operate. There's enough fuel. So we know all that, and we realize that Ghanaians we're going through some power outages in some few areas like Dudua, some parts of the north, and Ashanti region. And we saw the complaints coming in. Kufridua, for instance, we saw the complaints coming in. So we actually we asked ECG as per our work. And they explained that they are injecting new transformers. They are trying to move transformers across. Some communities have outgrown their transformers. So they try to replace and take the new one to other communities that are gradually growing, which is a continuous process. And so we re-emphasize that anytime they are doing those changes, they should get to communicate to the consumer. They should announce to the consumer 3 days before and 3 days after, so that the consumer will be much more aware and prepared.
But do those announcements happen? Because we hardly see those announcements. So
those are the challenges. They claim they do the announcements through channels that maybe. So they say they do the announcement through WhatsApp messages, WhatsApp groups. They do it through local radio stations, and then. Do
you believe them?
So we have on the ground PRC staff that are also monitoring. Like Kufridua, we have the Kufridua PRC regional office. That's the Eastern region. They are part of common platforms with ECG staff that are like maybe the district assembly platform. So they insist, and we monitor and ensure that they make available this announcement. For instance, I'm part of the Ashanti Regional ECG platform. We have a stakeholder platform, which I am part. In fact, the Secretariat created those platforms. Anytime they are out in planned outages or maintenance schedules, they post them. I'm part of the Central Region.
But clearly, ECG needs to do more when it comes to communicating with the customers. But the only reason they are not doing more is because the PURC is not sanctioning them when they do not do what they're supposed to do.
So I because that's they need to do more. Ask for more is required because they tend not to, because the consumer is the most important component of the whole power value chain. And I'll explain that because we are all working to meet the interests of the consumer and to meet the satisfaction of the consumer. And in fact, the utility will not be in existence if the consumer do not demand power. But you see, the utility also operates. They are operating a system. They are operating a system, distribution network. Obviously, if you understand the power sector value chain, distribution network is the most complex. Because it has to interact electrons. Basically, the power is electrons. It's just that has to be integrated with the consumer, and it's a little bit complex to handle that part.
Very well.
Obviously, you may not even be aware. ECG has very specific responsibilities. That's billing, ensuring that the transmission network or the distribution network is stable at all times, ensuring that there's billing, meters are also available, like issues with meters, they tell the consumer and try to resolve them with it. ECG, that's their main, and collecting the revenue, that's their main focus.
Yeah, but as a public utility, the PURC is enjoined by law to ensure that communication between the retailer, the power retailer, as a public utility service, and the consumer goes on smoothly. What I'm saying is that because you are not cracking the whip on our public utility companies, they have taken consumer communication for granted.
No, so that's a problem. That's obviously a problem.
What are you doing about that problem?
So there are channels of communication that we are aware as a commission that ECG does. They need to improve on that. We have multiples of them. As I said, they communicate through local radio stations, through the district assembly, through social media platforms. In fact, national local radios, and the last time we had a conversation with them, on the communication bit, we emphasize that they need to scale it up. And the scaling up, they've agreed categorically that they need to also be considering national announcement
as well.
But just imagine every other morning you come to you want to watch TV, and ECJ has to announce that there will be maintenances across. You see, and they're also looking at the cost of the announcement. But we still insisted that the consumer.
There could be other technology-driven ways to do this.
So they use social media, they use WhatsApp. In fact, that communication tool is so. Anytime you see it as a consumer, I see it. I'm not comfortable, so I don't even want to. I don't want to watch it at all.
Let's look at some other issues, right? As far as public utility is concerned, one of the things we've seen over the last month is that the energy think tank says that Ghanaians overpaid 1.5 billion for power in the year of 2025.
Okay.
Is PURC aware of this number? How did the Ghanaian people come to pay over 1.5 billion more?
Oh no, that's fortunately I watched I took that report and I tried to make sense out of it, and so I realized that it's the weight of what they are saying is highly low. It's not having any factual base, and the commission tariff process is complex. You stated it in your intro that it had to be balanced with the investor and the consumer at the same time. So we have a very robust. In fact, PURC tariff processes are one of the most robust you can find within the sub-region and in Africa. And I can say it's up to standard if you go to Florida, the World Bank systems and all the benchmarks that are supposed to be looked at to go through a tariff system. PURC tariff processes is one of the best you can find. Obviously, research and think tank work is very important, but it should also be based on very solid and very prudent kind of research. So I look at the research.
What's the formula for calculating our current tariff?
It's on our guidelines, but it's basic. It's a very straight and basic. You look at the cost of generation, what we call the composite generation cost of power. Then you include what we call the transmission cost, and you also look at including the distribution cost, and then you have some other factors you consider in the generation part, ancillary services and other supporting services that are required, reactive power. You look at all that in addition, and you come to even the transmission. There are other issues that you have to look at: stability, transmission, reactive power, as I said, ancillary services. Then the distribution segment, you consider so many other factors for just the composite cost of power generation, transmission, and distribution. Very important key components. Then you are looking at other issues, street light levy. We have the other statutory levies that we consider and put into the calculation.
I see.
And then you also look at their current investments, what we call the regulated asset base. Then you look at their future investments that are required to also keep the system ongoing. And then you go further to look at the hydrothermal mix. You move on to look at the exchange rate, you see. Even the credit rating, the current credit rating of the country, also inflation. You look at all that, and then before you say you are arriving at a...
Does that not sound like too many markups on
variables? In fact, so that's so the variables are there, a lot of them.
Well, but as a regulator,
they are highly ascertainable. They are issues, they are variables that we can easily, that we deal with every day.
Do we need all these markups on our tariff?
Yeah, no, there are no markups as in their additions. They can have a negative or a positive markup. Okay. They can either lead to a reduction or an addition. So it depends on their performance at every point in time. For instance, the hydrothermal mix, it depends on the current water levels in Akosombo. if the water levels are adequate and are within reasonable limits, then you're able to allocate more hydro into what we call the regulated market. And definitely, if you have more hydro, it reduces the cost of power compared to thermal. But unfortunately, the kind of power we are consuming now, I said before, the base load demand for power is increasing. So the hydro we have is constant. Akosombo is constant. You can hardly expand Akosombo. So we are now demanding more thermal power. More thermal power then means that, and all our thermal plants are peaking plants. Peaking plants are expensive. They use gas. And so it changes so we even need peak plants to actually provide base load power. You see. So because we've out-demanded or we've outgrown our demand for power beyond what Akosombo or the hydro plants can offer. See, so we need to think about adding a new base load plant.
We should still add as of now.
No, we should be thinking of developing a new base load plant relative to Akosombo as a country. And I'm just thinking loud so that it would help us reduce the base load price of power. If not, continuously, we are looking at adding we are depending so much on peaking plants or plants that are extremely expensive. Not to talk of that, the formula or the calculation that the think tank did they consider the cost of gas? We call something weighted average cost of gas. As it stands now, even though we are all paying for power in Ghana, we still do not pay for the full cost. The cost of fuel is still a burden of government of Ghana.
So government is still subsidizing our electricity?
Government is still paying 100% of the cost of, and not up to 100%, let's say 95% of the cost of fuel, because cost of gas. The whole of last year, government spent almost more than $1 billion to actually pay for the cost of gas. If you've heard the State of the Nation address last few days, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama was very clear that we've restored the gas payments to ENI, that's the Sankofa field. All that gas is meant for power generation. They've even increased their gas supply from 250 to 275. It means that we are going to be paying. And that cost is about $60 to $70 a month that the Ministry of Finance must give to ENI or the Sankofa partners to keep our lights on. Then you are looking at West African gas pipeline. The West African gas pipeline brings gas into Ghana. We try as much as possible to pay for the cost of the transmission within the tariff. In it, every month, the Commission tries through the cash waterfall to pay for the cost of transmission. But the cost of the commodity is still the burden of government of Ghana.
What I hear you say is that the increment we're seeing is justified. However, you have mentioned some indicators that this think tank also brings to the table, like inflation, like the currency, the cedi value. As of now, or even when the MYTD was put together, right? So, how do you convince the Ghanaian people that despite low inflation, a profitable ECG, telling us that they've plugged loopholes, and because of that, they have increased their profits, which also speaks to the fact that they have cut back on cost of production. And then our currency value being strong. And then we hear that our power in a multi-year tariff review is going up by 9% and more.
Thank you. This is very important too, because the think tank or any other person that have read the think tank's work needs to also know this and hear this, because we have two tariff regimes. We have the multi-year tariff order or the multi-year tariff review process, and then we have the quarterly tariff review. So the multi-year tariff order it's like every 3 years that you revalue the asset base or the regulated assets base of the utilities, see whether the assets have depreciated or they've added new assets or have appreciated. You look at it and then you establish that base. Then you look at their request for new assets like transmission lines, transformers, replacement of very critical investments. So if you add all this new investment, it means that you are going to be looking at rebasing their asset base. So that should be done every 3 years. Or for this time, we've made it every 5 years. so that you can do that to understand the requirement or investment requirement of the utilities. And you use it as a base to determine the multi-year tariff, an order. You set a base. You set a base, and then you use it. Assuming you've arrived at a base, you use it as a form to be using the quarterly tariff reviews to be determining or adjusting it. So that's what we call the quarterly tariff adjustment. So you do the multi-year tariff order for 3 years. When you have established that, then you'll be doing the quarterly tariff adjustment to make sure that you don't vary too much from the base. So every 3 years, we re-evaluate the asset, regulated asset base of the utilities. And when we are done, we then pass a tariff for that. And quarterly, we then adjust the tariff to reflect the base so that they can be able to recover or keep their assets up to standard for 3 years or 5 years. So that's the multi-year.
Yes.
So the multi-year is the foundation of the quarterly.
Well, so what the Ghanaian people are saying is, if things are getting well in this country, currency and all, then I should also see my utility tariff come down.
Fantastic.
But you're giving us increases.
Fantastic. So we've done the multi-year to take effect 1st January. So that's the beginning of the multi-year. So the first quarter will be January, February, March.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about
another review.
Review this March to take effect 1st April. So it will take into consideration the exchange rate and the thermal hydro mix, inflation. So that's what we do. So all the favorable factors we are seeing now.
So it's likely to...
It is supposed to reflect in the first quarter. Then you are looking at the second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter.
Is it likely to reflect in the next quarterly adjustments that tariffs will go down?
So let me become clear. It's not even, it's based on the formula, the formulas or the guidelines we have. It will hardly, nobody can. Maybe
then we should change the guidelines. Because
so the guidelines are very clear. So it would take into consideration the needed. We've updated the guidelines from the beginning of last year. That's one of the issues that we did. We re-evaluated the guidelines and made them more robust. So it's not too late yet to think about.
There were no over recoveries for the 2025
that's what I'm saying.
year. That's an error from...
The research is, I mean, I'm ready anytime. You can bring the two of us here to talk about it, the details of the research.
I see. So then, it brings me back to how it is calculated by the utility providers. How do you check that the actual calculation is what goes down then to the consumer as a regulator?
So we also even make available a tariff recorder to the consumer to check. So, and we to the consumer, anytime you take your bill and you feel that you have been overcharged, you can put that your consumption into the recorder, and the recorder will give you the exact amount that you are supposed to be charged. For example, when I got here, someone complained, and the complaint is that he's changed her meter, and the meter is reading faster than expected. I took the phone, opened her bills, and saw her consumption for the month, average consumption for the month. And I saw the costs, and I kept it onto our tariff recorder, which is on the PRC website. And I realized that what she said she has consumed and paid is exactly what the recorder has given.
I see.
And I asked her, this is what the recorder is saying. It then means clearly there's no problem with her consumption and the bill that she has received. But obviously, she said her meter...
I see. But that's just on one end, right?
Yes.
What the consumer could do to ensure that the utility provider is giving them the actual calculation of what they should buy.
Yes.
But you also are supposed to have inspectors who do some of these things. It sounds like your inspectors are not working. No. So the inspectors are working. We work based on the complaints, and then we also work based on like we have hot areas that we go in and check once a while, and we interact with the consumer
to also, so we do what we call public education. So we go to marketplaces, we go to schools, we go to mosques, churches to educate the consumers, and we take the response in there, and we provide solutions sometimes as there and then, and we move on to the next. And we have offices across the
I'm saying that your inspectors are not working, because then the PURC should have even identified some of these problems that the consumers have brought up since last month, if your inspectors were actively working.
So we are working. That's what I'm saying. We are working actively, because we pick them up and we tried.
Doc, understand me. Your inspectors are not only to educate. Your inspectors are actually supposed to go and look at the devices, the machinery, the utility provider is giving to the people.
The meters.
Yes, your inspector should be able to ascertain that, look, what ECG brought to the PURC, that this is what we are giving the consumers and this is what we'll do, which you approved, right? Is actually what is being given to the people. It's actually what the consumer gets at the end of the day. My question to you in that regard is that, are your inspectors actually doing that?
Yes. They are doing that 100% of the time. 100%.
Of the time?
Yes. So what they do, that's what I'm saying. First of all, we take complaints first. So the presumption is that between the utility provider and the consumer, they are supposed to have a good relationship. That's the presumption. If there's a fracture in that relationship, then the consumer has the right to report to the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission.
Right.
That's how it is. And if the utility provider also has a problem with the consumer, per LI 2413, the utility provider can also report to PURC. And when we come in, we come in to resolve the tension. We try to create a good working environment for the utility provider, and then the consumer, for them to continue. Do you get what I'm saying? So the first instance, and then we also then do someone would say the monitoring or the God role or the son role. So as both of them are having a relationship ongoing, it's also our responsibility to be monitoring them to ensure that at all times, because it's a principal agent situation, at all times, no one takes advantage of the other person.
How independent is the PURC from government influence?
No. So that's PURC is a government agency. That's the first thing we have to know. It's for you and I.
But as a regulator,
yes. How
independent are you of political influence?
Okay. So as to Section 4 of Act 538 is very clear that PURC is an independent agency, and we...
On paper. But in reality, how independent are you when it comes to setting your tariff, dealing with the stakeholders in the public utility sector?
So very independent. The tariffs are actually set by the commission, and you'll be shocked as to the composition of the commission. We have the board chairman, the chairman of the commission. Then we have a representative from TUC, Constant. We have a representative from AGI, Constant. It doesn't matter wherever they come from, whoever AGI says we should pick as a commissioner, that's the person to represent the interests of the Ghanaian industries. Then we have TUC. TUC is, TUC huge. So whoever the rep they have is whoever the commission works with. Very important. And then we don't report to any specific government agency. Like we work with Ministry of Energy and Green Transition. We also work with Ministry of Works and Housing and Water Resources. And we report directly to the Office of the President. And fortunately, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama
which is what brings me to the point.
Very knowledgeable about the utility sector.
Point. Yeah. Is the PURC able to reject that political influence when the executive, for instance, asks you to restrain from increasing tariff or asks you to not do what you're supposed to do for political reasons?
So as a regulator, there's no two ways that we know that we work within we call it the political economy. But as much as possible, we try not to. The regulator is independent and is not under any influence or any direct any influence from any entity. Yes, but we try as much as possible to understand the political economy of Ghana at all times. And the commission is I think if you are looking for independent entities in Ghana right now, PRC is number one, because we are independent. We take decisions as a commission. We only consult entities or stakeholders in the decision-making process before we come out with the. Remember last year, some of the utilities were requesting for extremely. You remember Ghana Water was requesting for 228% of or 80-something% for their tariff adjustment. Even ECG itself was looking for a very high tariff. All the entities, Gridco, they were all requesting for extremely high tariff. I mean, government would have wished that these revenues are granted so that government wouldn't give them any extra money for capital expenditure but the commission had to take into consideration the most reasonable tariff within that time that the consumer can pay, and then we passed a 9.9% average for the consumer.
Well, I'm starting to think it is now routine that the utility providers will come out with outrageous numbers just so that the regulator will still agree to something that is close enough for them. But, away from that, my other question to you is, are our service providers, public utility service providers efficient?
We know benchmarks. We know that there are other utility providers across the world that are doing well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there are benchmarks we can compare.
And when you compare,
when you do that comparison, you see that there's more room for improvement for our utility service providers. Example, if you look at the efficiency of the distribution network, you look at I can say categorically the efficiency of the transmission network is so well. I mean, that's Gridco.
Yeah.
And then, and there are some other entities that Enclave Power and some other entities that are doing well with their distribution. But in terms of, if you look at some of the power plants that we even have, you look at the IPPs that are running, the efficiency levels are also too good. I mean, the only challenge we have now is at the distribution leg, that's ECG. And the inefficiencies are more in the revenue mobilization.
I thought there was improvement over last year.
There's improvement. Okay. Let's say on average, it's not. That's what I'm saying. The numbers are not. The numbers are where the issues are.
Okay. There's still room for more.
There's still room for more improvement. As I said, the full cost of fuel is not accounted for within the collection ratios.
Okay.
So it means that the tariff includes fuel, cost of natural gas, which is about $1 billion in a year, about $70 in a month. Mm-hmm. But then the utility provider, that's ECG, is unable to collect anything that can be used to pay for the cost of fuel. It means that we are only collect what
ECG cannot pay for fuel.
Trust me, but yes. So all what ECG collects is not enough to actually be able to pay for the cost of fuel.
I see.
So government must make that money constantly available to get the fuel suppliers also paid.
How does the regulator intend to get our public utility companies to mop up and ensure that the over 50% that goes to waste it is plugged in and they actually are able to sell that?
Yeah, so another very important question, and these are structural reforms that we have to all be willing to undertake as a state and be able to bear, because and it's not that easy. You can imagine what we are going through now. Are Ghanaians willing to pay for the full cost of power? That's a question that we have to.
Why is the focus always on the consumer?
No,
because I have just told you.
Yes, even
that there are loopholes to be plugged.
Yes.
And we saw the evidence of that based on what the Energy Ministry had told us, that when they plugged some of the loopholes, revenue went up. So it means that there are ways to ensure that the Ghanaian people pay lower for utilities if our service providers are more efficient.
So let me, aside the distribution losses, we know there are distribution losses that are mostly what we call technical and commercial. We know the technical losses in the distribution leg is less than 9%. That has to do with just fixing the poles, ensuring that transformers are doing well. But the commercial leg of the distribution losses is the highest. Is over 10, 11, 12, sometimes getting to 15% or 16%. You see, that's a huge part. And most of it comes from meter not reading well, some internal issues with thefts, whether someone is surpassing the meter or tampering with the meter, or people are not even paying. Some are just saying that we won't pay because the power is for all of us. So, and that part component of the distribution network or losses, that's where we need to really focus on, because the technical can easily be worked on. But the commercial losses are where the challenges are. And there are some other entities, like we all know, hospitals, schools, prisons, the military camps. There are some other agencies that are also not, it takes time for them to pay. But government also pays. Like, for instance, Ghana Water uses about 30%. Their operational cost is about 30% of it is cost of power. And it means that every month their power cost to Ghana Water is about 50 million. And that's a direct input to generate water for all of us.
I see.
So there are hitches in mopping up all that commercial part or leg of...
Absolutely. And even for, Ghana Water, that non-revenue or distribution losses go as high as 50%.
52%, yeah.
52%.
Yeah.
And as regulator, it's easy for the utility provider then to go for the low-hanging fruit, pass it on to the consumers who are paying already. Imagine if we could collect all that 52% in revenue. Shouldn't we have lower? And so then the question is whether or not the consumer is paying for the inefficiencies of our utility service providers.
It's another very important question. But as I said, it will require as for the losses, someone will ask, where are they going? I mean, if the losses, the commercial losses, most of it's within. Power theft, if I realize that you are surpassing the meter, it's my responsibility to actually report.
All right. Let me make it easier, right? What targets have you given the utility providers this year in terms of performance?
Very strenuous targets. We have in fact, they are supposed to collect 98% of the revenue before they can even be fully compensated, or they can get full access to their operational expenditure. And we have given them distribution losses that's of about 21%. And our tariff has what we call it encourages better performance. It has in its own self. So if they are able to do less than 21% distribution losses, we are able to give them an incentive. So it's an incentive-based tariff system. For the transmission network, the losses is about just 4.1%. So, and they are doing well. As I said, the transmission system is doing well. The biggest problem is the distribution leg. The distribution leg is about 21%. If they're able to do less than 21%, then there's an incentive for them on the additional improvement that they've kept in. But unfortunately, they are doing more than that. So that's a benchmark. And we also have system benchmarks that we have given, system interruptions, frequencies that have been given to them to handle system interruptions. We call them SciFi and SciD, so that they will be able to use them as benchmarks to be able to cut or restore power anytime. Anytime there's power flowing, or if the power is stable, what it means is that the utility is also getting money, because if the power is not available, that's when nobody pays. It's when the power is available that your meter will read.
Yeah.
So interruptions or availability and stability is very key for even them to also meet their revenue requirements.
I want us to touch briefly on the cash waterfall mechanism. Last year, we were told that ECG was able to meet all its obligations and good payments were made. How are we sustaining that for this year?
So it's been so good and it's doing so well. So the obligations are ECG. What happened by the wish and the pledge of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. I mean, he indicated that ECG's finances should be relooked at.
Okay.
And ECG should be able to open up their activities and become more transparent. And that responsibility was actually given to the PURC to implement. So the cash waterfall has been in existence through the ministry, and it has been in existence since 2017. Yeah, so what we did last year was to just implement it more transparently, to the wish and to the admirations of, to the wish of His Excellency. And what did we do? We were able to create what we call a single holding account for ECG. So whatever revenues ECG collects is now more transparent. When at the end of the month, whatever they've collected over the month, we are all able to see it, and then we sit down together with ECG and all stakeholders to do the allocation to all the key stakeholders. So we do the allocation based on the cost of power. I told you we have the composite bulk power generation cost at power generation, then you come to the transmission, and then the distribution leg. ECG is the distribution leg. So what the cash waterfall does is to do the allocation as to all the other agents, other players, and we keep it up to date, we keep it more transparent. So we have the Chamber of IPPs having a representation in the cash waterfall mechanism committee. We have the Minister of Energy, Minister of Finance. So we all sit down and look at the mechanism so that whatever we all collect, ECG collects, we use it to pay for the costs of generation, that's IPPs, transmission, and then distribution.
So the new way will be sustained. But one concern that has been raised around the CWM is the fact that it would appear that the IPPs are prioritized over the local companies within the value chain like VRA and Gridco. How are we maneuvering that to ensure that they also get the priority that they deserve in terms of the money distribution?
That's transparency is very important. Anytime there's darkness in anything, it really worries everyone. And since the operationalization of the cash waterfall under the leadership of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, it has brought a lot of transparency in the sector. So as it stands now from last year, for example, I would say it, and the revenues that ECG or even Gridco received from the fact that the cash waterfall is now more transparent, is now more open for all of us, and the revenues they've received, I'm sure even in their operational life, they've not been able to have access to that.
Really?
Yes, that's one. The second is, you realize that the whole of last year, power has been extremely stable. See, in some instances where the generators are even having power available because of transformer issues, because of transmission lines congestion issues, and mostly, for example, let's take Cape Coast. Cape Coast, the whole of Cape Coast have been using 33 kVs for a very long time. The whole regional capital has outgrown its capacity to the extent that they needed to move from 33 kV to 66 kV. It only took last year for those 33 kVs to be changed.
And that's because of the CWM.
That's because they are able to be guaranteed. They know they can plan liquidity. They know that they are expecting something. There's transparency. They know they've worked for 1 month. They've made power available for 1 month.
You're assuring them that they will not be left behind, yes or no?
Nobody will be left behind. If you are a stakeholder within the power sector, for the first time under the under the reset agenda of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, nobody within the power sector will be left behind. Everybody will be taken care of. All investment requirements within the power sector will be taken care of. Most importantly, we are moving towards a 24-hour economy. Power is the engine of any industrialized or any fast developing.
Which is why you shouldn't allow them to make it expensive.
So that's what I'm saying. There are stages. So we are moving from availability, stability, to now we are moving towards costs.
Very well.
Yeah.
So has government abandoned plans to merge PURC and the Energy Commission?
As you said, you even asked a question whether or not we are under our independence.
No.
So now
have those plans been abandoned?
It's within government remedy. Government
you are
has
the executive secretary. You should know.
If government makes a decision to merge PURC and Energy Commission, it's within the remit of in other jurisdictions. Let's look at Kenya. Kenya has a regulatory framework where even petroleum, telecommunication, water are all handled by one regulatory entity. So in Ghana, Energy Commission offers what we call the technical regulatory arm of the whole show. So Energy Commission gives licenses to power plants to construct, and then PURC looks at the financial arm. So in most jurisdictions, these two activities are done by one entity.
Yeah.
So and it makes decision making easy. It improves efficiency. But in Ghana, we have two.
I see.
But it's government decision. At the point where the two entities were being created, that's 1997, the choice was in the hands of government. If government thinks it fit to bring them together, fine. But as it stands now, the two entities are working. They are able to collaborate well, and they are able to work with government to obtain objectives that are within their remits.
Well. Yeah. Doc, thank you for sitting down with us.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Shafiq Suleimana is Executive Secretary of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission. We hope your questions were answered. We'll see you same time next week. This is Hot Issues. Bye-bye.